get our folks in the hall quiet? Thank you, guys. Welcome, everybody, to the April the 12th, wow, April the 12th, Welton School Board meeting, to those of you present and to those that are listening. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. All rise and choose to pledge allegiance, please.
What did you say?
Remember whose turn it is. Would you go for it?
Sure.
Please? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board, we had a chance to review the agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Recognitions, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam
Like
Chair.
we have several.
We have several, yes, ma'am. I'd like to ask Trent Hollingsworth and Savannah Lehman to come forward, please. So you all remember Trent from a few weeks ago. He was here with a lot of medals on him from swimming. I don't know if you remember that, but we have another recognition for him as he's made us really, really proud. So Savannah, I'm gonna let you talk about what he applied for and then his recognition.
So Trent participated in the regional Scholastic competition. That's an art and writing competition, and he won the gold key for that. And at the regional awards ceremony, he was also presented with the National Gold Key Award, which is the highest award you can get in the entire nation. Less than 1% of students who participate in this event are awarded the gold key, which is a really big honor, especially for the fact that he's a freshman in the Art One Foundations. So it's a very prestigious, and we're very, very proud of him. And in June, we're going to go to New York City, and he's going to get to participate in some workshops with some professional artists, and he gets to be awarded in a ceremony at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
That's awesome. Who's naming?
Really proud of you. Congratulations. Board members, you have anything that
Just, we can't tell you how proud we are.
Yes.
Comments over here?
It is very good.
What are your plans down the road after high school?
I'm kind of looking into going to SCAD, Savannah College of Art Design, swimming there and doing art.
And make us proud.
Congratulations.
And you get to see his work on display in May at the Glencoe Mansion. Keep an eye out for that. On social media, we'll put out flyers as well. We're going to have a student art show there as well.
Wonderful.
Good job. Thank you.
Good job.
Ms. Thompson, you want to bring your Scholastic Bowl team in, please?
Look at that.
Fortunately, quite a few of our team members are on the tennis team.
I figured they were.
Perhaps tonight as well, so.
So a couple months ago, or a couple weeks ago, I guess 3 or 4 weeks ago, these folks went down to Williamsburg and they won a state championship for Radford High School. I think is it the first that we've had in Scholastic Bowl? I couldn't find.
No,
No.
It's the first in quite a while.
Yes.
It's my first as
Okay.
coach, but we have the last, according to the display in the lobby downstairs, the last state championship we had was 2004.
Okay, so it's been a
It's
long
been a
time.
minute.
So, and I'm gonna let you give the folks the good news about where they are headed now.
Sure. I'm incredibly proud of the team, both here and I'm not able to be here this evening. We qualified for a national competition for the first time. We are heading to Chicago to compete against 54 other schools from across the country, and we'll be participating there over the course of several days during our spring break. We're heading there next week.
Wow, that's awesome.
So who do you have here with you today?
This is our captain, Owen Saunders, our chief of fundraising, Lauren Price, and Michael Hyduk.
So, We're very, very proud of you guys. Congratulations. Good luck when you guys, good luck and safe
Show us
travel
your
too, yes.
Turning so
There
we
you
can
go.
see you, yeah, what it says.
Very proud.
Nice.
Oh, and you got your great shirts. There you go.
Yeah. What are you looking most forward to outside of the competition in the Windy City?
Just getting to explore the city. I haven't been to a big city before, so
Oh, it's
it'll
fun.
be
Oh,
amazing.
nice.
Well, I think, Ms. Thompson, you said too, there's times for them where they can explore the city and there's activities for them as well that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give you a sense of the kids I'm working with, I put out a survey to ask what it was that they wanted to do, and the number one answer, practically unanimous, was an art museum in
Oh,
Chicago.
wow.
So I said, okay, we'll go to the art museum.
It's a great
What
museum.
what a great group of kids to travel with.
Not the Cubs, huh?
Exactly.
Few of us probably.
That's awesome.
Well, we're
Very
really proud of you. You guys, safe travels and best of luck to you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come
Represent
back
us
and
well.
tell us about it.
Yes, absolutely. And Mr. Worley and Ms. Tapp with our forensics team.
There's a lot of.
That's okay, tell them, come on in.
Bye. That's cute.
Back to us first.
Yeah, backstage, yeah, come on in, come on in, come on in,
You never get to see their faces.
come on in.
Wow, what a big group.
There's someone in there.
Oh, look at the back. Oh, that's nice.
Come on, Mr. Worley.
He hates it so much.
That's a testament to being on a team.
So do you want to start by introducing everybody and what they competed in?
So this is our forensics team, and no, they don't use microscopes. A lot of people get confused about what forensics is, but it is public speaking and theater. So Ms. Worley and I coached together, and we had an awesome duo with these guys. We have 19 kids on the team, so this is just a sampling. We had all of them qualified for the super regional competition. 15 of those 19 qualified for the state competition this year. So we just blew them out of the water at the state competition. Ms. Worley, do you want to tell who got what? 'Cause I don't.
Yeah, so Nico Puglisi got first in humorous dramatic.
Imagine that.
Colin Barron and Alex Peasy got third in humorous duo. James Reif got third in humorous interp. Justin Anziani got sixth in storytelling. Abby Napolitano and Summer Fisher got second in serious duo. Cindy Shapizi got first in storytelling. Princeton, Joseph Stevens got first in prose. Kylie Leahy got second in impromptu, thank you. And then Kiera Sarton, Olivia Spalding, William Johnson, were our alternates. I think
And
that's
who are
it.
we missing?
And we're missing Aaron Wilson, who got fourth in poetry. Ellie Lovick got fourth in serious interp. Grace Davis got fourth in poetry, third in poetry, sorry. And then Kamani Ferguson got second in original oratory, and Amani Scott got third in prose.
Wow.
So, yeah, you talk.
Where's your trophy?
We forgot.
You forgot your trophy.
Casey and I decided our t-shirts are cooler. We did
Okay.
get a trophy that looked a lot like the trophy that Ms. Thompson had. But these shirts were really, we got comments about these everywhere we went. If you don't understand what it is, when they go to competition, they have to practice a little bit before they go in. So they just find a quiet wall and they practice their piece before they go into the room to do their pieces. So last year, we thought we had won the state title. An hour after the competition, we all left. We had posted it to Facebook, and then they called us and said they had made a mathematical error. And so by 1 point, we were the runner-up instead of the champion. So we got our revenge this year.
Absolutely,
And
you did.
So we're real proud of it.
Another little shout out. Recently, we've had some awesome accolades within the theater program. So Abby Napolitano and Princeton Joseph Stevens recently got into UVA Wise's Gov School. Aaron Wilson, Nico Puglisi got into the RU Gov School, found out today. And Rico Puglisi recently got into a prestigious residential program for his senior year of high school at UNC School for the Arts.
Does that mean you're not going to be with us next year?
Well, I could have done it without you guys.
Well, we're so very proud of you all, and you've represented us very, very well. So, outstanding job, and congratulations to everything. So, just so you all know too, the forensics team and the Scholastic Bowl. So we compete at the Class 2 level in Wells Fargo Cup competition, and so these two teams got us 100 points. And the last time that happened, we ended up first in academics in the Wells Fargo Cup. So we also have some other points there as well, but they've set us up for great success in the Wells Fargo Cup, so we appreciate that too. So thank you all.
Turn around.
Thank you.
Turn around and let us see you.
Do turn around to see the board and see if they have any questions.
That's awesome.
Do you have questions, board?
I'm just curious, who wants to follow theater? You don't answer that. Answer that. Outside of high school and in the college.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Let us know how you're doing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
Mr. Worley, thank you so much. So much. Thank you, guys.
Good job.
guys.
Let's give them another round of applause. Good job, you guys.
Really, I think so.
Yeah.
All right, these are all the recommendations I have. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And no report is due because that took so long.
That's true.
It's a good thing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board, let's move on down to our consent items. How about the minutes? Chance to look at the minutes? Okay, bills and petty cash. Student activities.
You all have two that were added there. The first one is a trip for the Spanish program to Rocas. This is a yearly activity they do. It's a wonderful opportunity for our students, and I would certainly recommend that. And then precision machining goes to Cole Morgan too, and that's an opportunity for them to meet with the folks there as well. So
I wonder if Miss Andrews needs chaperone.
I don't know.
All right.
Are they taking a bus that says a van?
For which one? The machining? Are you car?
There's
6
okay,
okay.
that was what I was wondering.
It did say van, didn't it? Van need. All righty, use of school facilities.
Okay.
Okay, any other, Ms. Graham?
No, ma'am.
All right, I need a motion to approve the consent items, please.
So moved?
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, information items. This is the part of the meeting, thank you. This is the part of the meeting that is reserved for public comments regarding items on the agenda or in regards to the Rapid City Schools. It is your opportunity to address the board. You are requested to keep your comments polite and courteous. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect to the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. Speakers should be aware that they may be held legally responsible if they make statements that violate the legal rights of others. For example, if statements are made that are defamatory or threatening, complaints about specific school personnel are best addressed to the school administration, who will address those concerns as appropriated through existing Board of Complaint procedures. Please remember, you cannot mention specific student names during public comments. Comments likely to disrupt the board's work or prompt a breach of the peace are prohibited, and the speaker will be called out of order by the board chair. Please remember that debate during public comments is prohibited. For the record, please state your name and address. The public comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker at any board meeting. And the first person signed up is Mr. Chris Calvin.
Good evening. My name is Chris Galvin, I'm 819 7th Street here in Radford. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak again this evening. On occasion, my intended eloquence is actually overrun by my passion for the subjects that I bring to the board and to the public at large. Tonight I'm actually going to speak about the Region 7 relationship and with VAVA. You've all heard recently from my oldest daughter and her passion about that and the way that we really value that relationship. So I'm offering once again, as I have individually, to let you know my experience and my wife's experience as parents. My family and I have offered to answer any questions regarding the experience of Region 7 and VAVA. By the numbers provided by Mr. Graham, our family represents part of 40.9% of the enrollment of Radford City Public Schools. As such, it's become clear that while the program is new for Radford City Public Schools, it is extremely well developed and expertly managed by VAVA. So I'll relegate my comments towards that side of the relationship at this time. You recently heard from my oldest daughter, as I mentioned, regarding her experience through Region 7 as a hybrid student. I believe her passion for learning, her experience in life to its fullest, and her ability to express that in meaningful and concise ways indicative of the work and effort that's put together as a partnership between Radford, VAVA, and my wife and I as parents and our children. As such, we truly have explored to the fullest extent all the resources available to us for the benefit of our children and our community. Traditional systems, such as we have here in the school, typically we'll see with proposed budgets have to start making cuts with things like additional trips. I'm very, very grateful to see that some of those are being extended. They're so valuable. As a family, we just experienced one of the many outing days through VAVA. We actually got to go to the Virginia Capitol grounds in Richmond. Fantastic experience. I can't say enough about it. We were greeted upon arriving by teacher volunteers through VAVA. We had an instant rapport with them. They're very open, welcoming. It's like meeting an old friend that you just hadn't seen in a while. Both of our girls developed conversations even with other students there. My wife and I developed and enjoyed very animated, to put that very politely, conversations with other parents. We were sharing just as friends having a cup of coffee. We were able to work together through situations and opportunities, whether it's our school systems locally or through VAVA, but in all very positive ways. There was no negativity whatsoever with the entire experience. It was all, again, just like meeting old friends. So it was actually a wonderful thing, and this is an experience we've had over many of these trips. Once the volunteers got us started, we actually went through and were actually able to see, as I have through being a parent volunteer here at the school board, at the school system, in Radford. When you are able to watch firsthand, as a parent, as a child, as a citizen, when you see the items that are in your history books, you've seen them on screens, but when they see them in person, and you smell the smells, and you experience that life event, everything you've learned now becomes real. It's tangible, and that's a life-altering experience. I watched a phenomenal volunteer and a tour guide look at my youngest daughter. Instantly, the lesson she learned in history came alive in her eyes, and it all made sense. She's an excellent student now. She's doing very well. Belle and I were in awe of some of the artifacts available. The rapport and relationships we've developed through VAVA, through our community, really came alive. I would encourage any of you who have the opportunity, please explore those relationships more. Through Region 7, through VAVA, through our families. There's a lot of us. Like I said, 40.9%, 41% of the student population now, currently through Radford City Public Schools, is probably through Region 7. Explore it. Ask us about it. We're excited to tell you about it. There are courses available to our students that local districts just can't offer. That's the powerhouse of this opportunity. It really does give you an opportunity to provide things that ordinarily Radford City couldn't afford.
Mm-hmm.
So take advantage of it, please. Reach out. But understand, even as we have to make tough decisions as a community, where we can spend money where it's needed most. This relationship gives you more. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Couldn't figure out how to turn it off quickly here.
Keith Weltons.
Turn that down just a little bit. It's louder than I intended.
I'm Keith Weltons from 616 7th Street in Radford. And I want to start out by just saying I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. I know that you all listen to the community on a daily basis, and so I certainly appreciate that. My wife Julie is sitting over there. My history with Radford is I struggled like a lot of people just to even get out of school. And when I finally got out of school, I was offered a job. One was in Richmond and one was in Radford, and I took the one in Radford because Julie wanted to live closer to Blacksburg. And in 1999, when we were getting married, we'd bought a house in Radford, and as the guy said that we were buying it from, it was a foreclosed home. They were getting ready to tear it down. And by the way, it still lived in nice. A police officer lives in it now. The guy selling it to us said, "You are the definition of a hopeful optimistic." And I didn't know what he meant by that. But $60,000 later into a home that I sold for $60,000 after I bought it, I realized what he meant. Sometimes you're going to put too much work and effort into something and get no rate of return. I happen to be in finance, so that was a real world life learned lesson. I'm here to speak about a topic that I don't know anything about. So I'll start with that. And it was a topic that I knew nothing about until I came to join my wife on an evening, and I heard the term grade inflation. And I remembered not knowing how the meeting worked, and I raised my hand, and you graciously asked me for my 2 cents on that, and I gave it. And I felt like maybe I hadn't even given it enough thought. And during that period of time, I've tried to give it a significant amount of thought. And trying to get my head wrapped around this. I remember when I was in college and you would take a class and it was really hard, and I finally got into Virginia Tech on the third try, and then they're like, "Oh, well, now you need to take these engineering courses." And I'm like, "But I'm not even going to be an engineer." And, struggling mightily just to get out of it so I could move into the curriculum of finance. And they would grade you on a curve. So I understood that. It was like I just needed to not be the worst, and I could maybe get through it and move on. And so what I tried to do, and I promise I'll be brief, this was written by a Mr. Zachary Bleemer, and it was published in the Washington Post. Mr. Zach Bleemer is a postdoctoral fellow and Opportunity Insights at Harvard University, a research associate for the Center of Studies at Education at the University of Cal Berkeley, and he also is a member of the Yale School of Management and assistant professor of econ. And I won't read the whole article because it's more than 5 minutes, but the last page I think is very insightful. This is in reference to how does grade inflation play out. All of the studies, and I'll start with that, all studies focus on college grades, period. But the same arguments could hold for high schools. Higher grades could mean less discouragement from challenging subjects, and maybe even greater confidence and persistence to graduation. While inflated high school grades may make college admissions more challenging, while inflated high school grades may make college admissions more challenging, grades remain highly predictive of college preparedness, and admissions offices can adjust to applicants' higher GPAs by adjusting their GPA expectations or focusing on class rank. The College Board has motivated some concern that grade inflation is greater at affluent high schools, which could potentially limit college access for students from lower income schools. But this does not appear to be true. Among the high school graduates headed to selective universities, in fact, there's evidence of the opposite effect. since top students at many affluent high schools have already neared the upper bound of possible high school grades. Top students from less affluent schools have been, quotes, catching up through their own school's grade inflation, though it doesn't appear that those students have been catching up in terms of standardized test scores. And then I've highlighted this, and I will just give this to you guys. We have a lot more to learn about the motivational and learning effects of higher or lower grades.
Can you sum it? It's the 5 minutes.
It's one sentence. And not all grade inflation is created equal. For example, a recent grade deflation policy at Wesley had the net effect of increasing enrollment into the areas of STEM, seen by many as the positive outcome intended. That's it.
Did you cite the date for that Washington?
September 2021.
I'm sorry?
2021.
Washington.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe it's Rob Barron.
Hello, my name is Rob Barron. I live at 105 Lee Street. I have 5 beautiful children in the city of Radford that have enjoyed your services. I thank you for that. I thank you for the recognition you've given the Scholastic Bowl teams and forensics teams and all the recognition you give our students. Several of these students, specifically today, are working in an auditorium, which I'm sure most of you have visited for various productions, and they consistently compete at a very impressive level. My background is in audio, live production, and I'm consistently heartbroken at the equipment that they have available there. It does not come close to matching the work that they put into that. I'm requesting, first of all, I want to bring attention to anyone that doesn't have that, and I'm requesting, I guess, approval or permission to assess the audio situation in the auditorium and to explore funding, be it through volunteers, the community. It's my understanding that the city also has no auditorium or meeting room, that they also use the high school auditorium. So I'm experienced in making audio, in designing and bringing to pass audio installations for live music, for public speaking, for various numbers of audience members. So there's no challenge there as far as coming up with a plan, but I would just requesting approval to begin that process. I'm not sure about all the rules, so that's why I'm here.
May I say something?
Please.
Okay. Can you get us a quote?
Yes, that's my intention is to get a quote. I also have the intention of making as big of a donation as I can myself out of my inventory and my family's funds. This assessment would also include testing of everything that's currently in the auditorium. I have all the testing equipment there to verify, is this functional? Is this part of an up-to-date solution, an easy solution for the entire city of Radford to use? So just, and I have good relations with all your forensic folks as well, the teachers there in the program, and willing to work hand in hand and get their feedback as well.
If you can provide us with a quote, and if that quote is under $15,000, we don't have to go for other bids.
Okay.
Or if we can't find another company, then, but I don't know if you all have, but I haven't seen a quote from that yet, and that's the first time. So yeah, we'd love to see one.
Okay, and in response to that, I'm also willing to provide the labor for installation, and any quote that I present would be just a retail or wholesale pricing if I can get that. It's
Okay.
just, there's no markup or no labor to be concerned with.
Well, that's awful kind of you.
I'm quite invested. Quite invested, but I thank you for your time.
Do you have my email, Rob? You have my email address,
I
don't
can
you?
find it in the staff directory, and it's probably in my inbox anyway.
Yeah, I think you may have my phone number too, so just call if you need to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we
Thank
really
you.
like that word donation. That's our favorite word, except for free.
We're all invested. We're all invested already, so
All
I thank you.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did anybody comment online?
No, ma'am.
That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty, Dan, it's time for the report of the superintendent.
So we're lucky enough, and Mr. Calfee talked about Stride, and we're Region 7. We're lucky enough to have Caitlin with us, who's our Executive Director of the Region 7 Academy. And before she starts, just want to let you know that the Academy is so successful. One of the reasons it's so successful is because of her. And she does an outstanding job with everything that comes with that. You know, we have the pleasure of having a graduation towards the end of May, and then I was invited to potentially speak at the graduation of Stride too in Richmond in early June. So it's kind of exciting. Yeah, excited about that too, because evidently it's a pretty big shindig there too.
Several thousand.
We have alone in Rapid City, we have 147, I think, graduating from Stride. So we're really excited about that too.
Very good.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Graham, members of the board. I appreciate your time. I spoke to you in May and kind of gave you like a brief rundown of kind of how this academy works. But I wanted to give you an update. So bear with me as I work through this. So we started with 17 school divisions and 3 virtual providers. We will start school year 22-23 with the same. All 17 school divisions have signed on board for next year, and we opted to continue with the same virtual providers, and so I'll kind of jump into that in just a second. So August 2021, this past August, we started with 1,500 in-district students. What does that mean? Across 17 school divisions, 1,500 students chose a virtual option through the Region 7 Virtual Academy. That we believe some of that was due to the COVID variant at the time, but we didn't see a large dramatic drop. So potentially that was a contributor, but I don't know that it was the end-all be-all. And I kind of give some brief items of what we did from August to December, and really it was learning the providers, learning the platforms, offering technical support, really just trying to get everything figured out, for lack of a better word. We were building a plane as we were flying it. So, and again, every provider is different, so that's something to note. And each division has the opportunity to select their provider. So you can imagine the moving parts associated with that. December 2021, we had roughly 1,250 students enrolled, meaning we had a 250 drop. I often get asked, what was that due to? Could have been administrative withdrawals due to not meeting expectations. The students could have got vaccinated and returned in person. They could have realized that virtual was more than they bargained for because it's pretty rigorous and very requires self-motivation from your students. And so whatever the factor may be, 250 of those students returned to your in-person setting, and that left 1,250 to finish out the school year. This chart kind of shows you the breakdown of who was enrolled with whom. I call it Stride, but Stride is VAVA. And they are also known as K-12. They have many different names, but that's in a nutshell. The green being Virtual Virginia, the state-sponsored program, and the red being Edgenuity. January, so at the turn of the semester, we started with approximately 1,000 students, 1,100 roughly. And I'll go back up. Throughout this whole time, the 3 listed under December, progress monitoring is constant, state reporting issues are constant, building rapport and understanding among stakeholders, part of what we're doing right now, is constant. Remember, when you start something new, well, I heard this quote the other day, the message received is the message. So sometimes what you think you're saying, what you think you're communicating may not be the case. And so I've really tried to keep that in my back pocket and remember that as I go through this process. So to build rapport with people I can't see or talk to or walk down the hall to is not an easy thing. January 2022, so at the turn of the year, we had roughly 1,100 students enrolled. Some of those had new courses, wanted to make sure all those courses were correct, if they were on a block scheduling, and just continued communication and contacts. Over the course of a day, I may talk to 20 parents. And that's just one aspect of the day. So it just, sometimes they run into questions or they have, grading. I mean, it could be anything. And so currently, as of last month, that number only went down by 10. So we're looking at probably 1,000 for the coming school year would be my estimate. I have absolutely no idea. But continued progress monitoring and those sort of things. All divisions, as I mentioned, have signed on for 22-23, so all 17 Region 7 schools. That is 2 who didn't sign on this year. They are not going to offer a virtual option. Enrollments, like I mentioned, are to be determined. Continued partnerships with providers, but I recently completed a survey where divisions selected their providers, and we do have some divisions choosing new providers and adding on to their providers. So if they chose Edgenuity before, they are maybe choosing Edgenuity, Stride, and Virtual Virginia as an offering to have multiple options for their families. And the last part I will say is implementation of positive logistical changes. So as you can imagine, being a staff of one, I have found that there are several items we can improve upon. And to make everyone, my life a little easier, so I am going to implement a few logistical changes in the way we do things, just to streamline the process. And I mean, everything that starts from new, it gets better over time. So that's the goal, is that those changes are only positive rather than negative. So, any questions you may have? I did want to come in person because I value that. I know here I am representing a virtual platform and all the things therein, but I am an in-person person, so I did want to be able to put a face with the name for some of you and say hello. Any questions you have for me?
This will sound like a job interview, but what would you say has been your greatest success, and then what's been your greatest challenge?
Sure, they may be one and the same.
Okay.
Virtual is not for every student, but it's for several students. And what I've found is families it's valuable for them to have the option. We came together as a region because as a body of one, we're maybe not strong enough, but as a region of 17 to 19, we are. And so what I think is it creates, this term's tossed around a lot, equity, right? We throw that term around, but Arlington, Loudoun, Fairfax, they've got virtual options. They have for years. Right? This is nothing new for them. So when we are able to come together and do this, I think having the option and seeing that option produce students, I mean, these programs are rigorous. I will say it is involved, and it does take an extra effort on the students' behalf because they are doing it without a teacher standing right beside them. And so just having that option available, I think, is a success. But along with that, it's not for everybody. And so that's a hard conversation with a family who doesn't have the support at home, they're not meeting the expectations they're in, and you say, sorry, and they may have anxiety, or they may have X, Y, and Z reason why they're choosing virtual. But if you're not meeting expectations, you're not meeting expectations. And so I think that's one and the same almost. Sure.
Yes, I have a question about numbers.
Sure.
So we've gone backwards about 500 as a region.
Sure.
Roughly, and we added more seats. We've decided to add more seats.
Not yet. That discussion.
Right,
Yes.
but we're leaning toward adding more seats. Why would we add more seats if our numbers are going back?
So I can absolutely answer that question. These are in district.
I figured there was a reason.
Yeah. These are in district students, meaning those students were already Bradford students, already Washington County. This does not include out of district students, which for our region is roughly 3,000 that I also work with.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 3,000 to 4,000.
We can't steal from any of these 17 divisions.
No.
Right, that's part of the
Correct. There's
bylaws.
poaching protections.
Yeah.
Yes.
And on top of that too, Caitlin can tell you that Virtual Virginia offers free seats to
6,000 enrollments.
Yes, and they're gone. They're gone. So, and Stride K-12 is also there. They have a wait list right now of, I think last I talked to Suzanne, it was 3,500 is what she told me the other day.
They've accepted, I think they have room for 2,800 and they have 3,500 that would like to, so it's roughly 1,000.
Yeah.
And so the long of the short is the numbers listed here are what we call in-district students, meaning they were already in our region, whereas out-of-district students, maybe coming from other parts of Virginia and are not coming from, but are physically residing in other parts, but are enrolled with our school divisions.
And 41% of our students are enrolled in.
I'd have to check that percentage.
Yeah, we checked that too.
I'm not. I know that in-district.
That's I think include. Is that including the non-residential students in that?
Yes, sir. Based on the numbers that you.
That's probably correct. That's probably close.
Very possible.
Based on that data.
I mean, we based our budget on 2435, and about 1,000 of those are virtual kids. Yes.
So yeah, that speaks to that question. I can explain in-district versus out-of-district. That's been the 9 out of 10 things that I've been trying to explain to families, because some of those families may have previously been what we call out-of-district, and now they're in-district because we recouped them. We got their ADM back. Whereas without this partnership with these providers, and this is important, without this partnership, they can choose to go on their own. And when they do that, they take their ADM with them. And I think that is, we're seeing that in other divisions, more so maybe, but it definitely happens.
So you're seeing students that want to be enrolled in Stride specifically, that are confident they did it somewhere else, just based on their experience that they want, whatever program they do.
We've actually had some too that want to just deal strictly with Stride, but that's not part of our policies with the Region 7 Virtual Academy. They have to.
Yeah, they've asked if they can bypass the local school division, and I tell them no.
Yeah.
Because of the partnership.
And when she says that it's free to them, instead of them having to pay for it, they come on board.
And Virtual Virginia too. So you can homeschool through Virtual Virginia at a cost to the family. Or you can go through your local school division and they pay the cost for it. You all pay the cost for them based on the money you receive from the state.
So how do we choose out of the 17 divisions, if we have a student in Arlington that wants to be enrolled, how do we choose which division they?
So actually you don't choose, Stride places.
They place.
Based on whatever he tells them to do.
That's right. It's based on a number of things. You don't want to place too many in your secondary to move you from class 2 to class 3. You don't want to place too many sped students to have some, differentiation issues and things like that. So they tell us who they're placing and where they're placing them, and that allows us to know if it's going to have an impact on us.
True.
And the superintendents get together and make that decision.
The ones who work with the out of district do, and there's 4 of us, right? Isn't that right? 5 now.
One only does out of district and doesn't use them as for in district.
Yes, so there's 5 of us.
Lots of moving parts.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As a
I'm good.
as a staff person of one, do you feel supported? Do you feel like this is a long-term doable?
I definitely have made a lot of friends within each division. I don't know, it's a very unique position, right? Because I have truly learned 17 school divisions and how they work and their principals and their guidance counselors. And, I literally talked to Kate Buchanan today, right? So what I will say is without the support of school staff, my answer would be no. But because you all have such great people working for you and they're I think we're learning how this all works, but because they're so supportive, my answer is yes. And I have a great superintendents. The regional superintendents really get together and work things out, which you can't say for all regions in the state. And so oftentimes they give me, oh, good job, but they're the ones who really created this, and they're the ones doing a great job. So yes is the answer.
Okay.
We're working on trying to get her some support too.
I would hope so.
Listen, I'm hireable. If it falls through, you can come find me.
It's certainly not a criticism, it's more feedback, and it's not even a question. Something that I was concerned about from the very beginning when we started all of this was the academic counseling piece.
Sure.
Can you just give me your opinion on how that's working? And 2-part, really. The second would be the emotional counseling piece. Is a great concern to me for students on the computer all day.
Sure, twofold. Students remain connected to their home school in district. That's important because they're going to run all of their academic progress through their counselor. Our in-district students. Secondarily, any out-of-district students is with VAVA Stride, and they are very, very adamant about building those connections. They've done this for years. I think 12 years in the state of Virginia, right? 20 in the state of Virginia. So they've been they're great communicators. They offer the outings that was mentioned previously in a public comment. In terms of emotional support, they also are very good at identifying red flags. They have full synchronous schedules, both Virtual Virginia and VAVA, the ones you all use. So they're on camera. The kids are on camera, they're connecting with their peers, they're connecting with their teachers. And that piece is important because we learned when we offered virtual as school divisions, it was very evident who needed support at home, right? Because you hear it in the background, you see it. I was a principal at that time. I saw it. So what I will say is Stride does an excellent job of meeting that for out of district and in district, but our school division is also there for those in district students. And we have an open door. You know, they're still Radford High School students or Belheth, you know, students. And so I think those counselors and principals take accountability for them. Sure. Anything else for me? Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. She's done all this too with a newborn, so.
Yeah, I know. Baby what's, baby okay?
It's been like almost a year, hasn't
It's
it?
hard to believe.
Yeah.
It is hard. Drive safe.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Denny's going to talk about what we're doing with the grading policy.
So we have started a study with Brian Kitts, which I think I explained to y'all before. They're meeting tomorrow for the first time. There's 9 teachers involved. There'll be 5 sessions. They're scheduled in April and May. Admin will probably join in at the end of one of those just to understand what's happened. Mr. Kitts is using the book Grading for Equity and a variety of articles. Mr. Welton, I love your article for many reasons, but I think that I want to pass it on to the grading committee because it does do a wonderful job of explaining the pros and cons of grade inflation. The article doesn't diss one or the other, and it actually points to certain populations that are not represented in certain fields. So I do appreciate that because we do look for good articles that give us more information than just a high grade for something you don't feel like someone did. So I thank you for that. We appreciate that. As we finish with the teacher committee and we start adding administration, we'll also add parents that will be on that committee as well. So we'll continue studying. So I think we're off to a good start. It's not going to be something that's a quick fix, but we're going to work through it and find the best solution we can.
You said 9 teachers?
Right now there's 9 teachers, and that includes Dalton and the high school. It does not include the elementaries.
Okay.
The elementary schools are really looking at standard-based grading. So we'll work with that as we move.
Explain briefly.
I can, but because Michelle and Kelly are both here, maybe you guys want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, that's not a common phrase passed around the community. It would be helpful if you would, just briefly.
Stand up to the
Stand
mic.
up on, yeah, come on up to the mic.
Oh, you're on the hot seat now.
Didn't let you know ahead of time.
That's okay. So for students K-3, something teachers have to complete is an achievement record, and that's based on every standard. They have to score students at 4, 3, 2, 1, 4 being the highest they could get above the standard, 1 being not achieving the standard at all. So really in alignment with achievement records and alignment with the work that's going on in their classrooms, if we're looking at standards for report cards, then instead of reading, which is pretty broad, we're getting very specific of what are those high priority standards, and then students are getting a grade based on the standard instead of just reading math. Then we know the skills that they've worked on that quarter, and then they're graded accordingly.
It's almost like a rubric.
Almost. It's very skills based. But what I really like about it, especially for our students, report cards don't give you a lot of information.
No, they don't.
And so that communication tool for parents from the teachers is really very important. And if we have a tool that breaks down it by standards and how well the students are performing at each standard, that's really going to give the parents an idea of what they can do at home to help them and areas that they can help support us at home with what we're doing at school. It also aligns with our standards of learning tests that, of course, that we are enriching our students with every day and having to meet those goals. If we're looking about project-based learning and all of the other innovative things that we want to do, going to a standards-based report card is really going to help us align our efforts with those innovation in the ways that we can assess students in a different ways than assigning an arbitrary grade. There's a lot of research behind it. We're talking to our teachers about what's best practices. It is different, but I think it's something that I would be really interesting and very good information for parents.
Yeah, it would be nice to do a presentation.
Well, as
Yeah.
far as if it aligns with the achievement record, that will be a decision we'll have to make as a division if that's, we want to stick with the 4-3-2-1 or something that we're
And
currently
other districts
using.
in Virginia are using that same holding your hand. 4, 3, 2, 1. I tend to do that. 4, 3, 2, 1 as the standards as well.
You guys will work too close.
That's what we're gonna do next year. I mean, I don't know.
So, may I ask?
Yes.
I'm sorry, this impromptu, but this is pretty exciting, actually. So I know, for example, that in the English Standards of Learning, there's oral communication. But I just wonder about some of those, and I hate calling them soft skills, okay? But in some ways, the 5 C's versus the academic, the reading and the writing and the math and the social studies and the science and the standards in those areas. How are you assessing those skills?
So one of the things Cole and I have talked about moving forward for next year is really providing students with the opportunity to do presentations for public speaking. You know, we've been hiding behind a mask for so long. We really need to get these students out there. We need to bring the parents and engage with them and have them see what we're doing in the schools. Right now, parents aren't really aware of what we do and of the amazing things that happen in our schools every day. So in order to bring them in and have these opportunities to do exhibitions, to do living museums, and have these students practice those soft skills, which is really what we need to do, actually standards-based grading would be an opportunity for them to say, okay, you've got the same standards as a rubric, these are my expectations, how do you feel that you met your goal in these expectations? And it's a working, living, breathing document that they can actually work on and do. We're really striving to match what we're doing at school with what the demands are outside of school. And what my 24-year-old is having to learn how to do in the workplace that he's not very good at, and so we need to help prepare our students to be able to take that on. Public speaking, developing those creativity, problem-based skills, those collaborative skills. I'm so sorry, what else do you want to say?
I think, just like she said, using rubrics to really look at what are our target skills that we're looking for when we think about communication. What does that look like in kindergarten versus what does that look like in 6th grade?
And it will scaffold, right? If you start kindergarten, it's going to scaffold. Tara, we've all been talking to Darden about some really exciting capstone projects that we could be scaffolding towards at the middle school and the high school thing. So the nice thing is the administration right now across Radford City schools are so in alignment with what we hope to do for our students and really exciting goals and things that we want to accomplish.
This is great. This is great. It's actually, in Grading for Equity, they actually talk about one of the alternatives is this kind of 4-3-2-1 way of measuring. So.
Yeah. It reminds me about, and I'm outdated, there's no doubt about it, because I've been retired now, classroom for a while. But when I was first grading without names, for example, on the SOL, when I learned how to do that, hoping to give my children an advantage, and it would be in the different categories, a 4, a 3, a 2, or 1, and a child may stay on the topic. And your average person on the street would say, that one got the topic. Well, did this elaborate using this type of language, or this one used it? And it was just, I learned so much. And the students learned how to grade anonymous papers, and it was so much fun. And they were so proud because, they didn't use compound complex sentences. All they did was use declarative all the way through, and I like that a lot.
It's an opportunity to shine in one area.
Yeah.
And also show growth in another area, and you could be working on that as well.
Thank you for this impromptu presentation.
Yes. You sure you weren't prepared?
Anything else on? Okay, thank you. So Ellen's going to talk a little bit about summer school too.
So Belle Heath and McCarg are running a summer school in June. It will be 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. It'll be 8 hours. It starts at 8, ends at 4, and that's state mandated, part around one of the parameters of one of our grants. Our grants always have rules. That's one of them in in order to access the funds, it has to be run that way. But McCarg and Belle Heath are going to do it, but it's going to be a camp as well. So you'll have reading and math, but there will be some STEM opportunities, some other opportunities for kids, recreation, things like that, built into those days. But it will be 4 weeks, June 6th through the 30th, Monday through Thursday. And we have about 12 certified teachers working. 4 of them are brand new. They're actually student teachers that are graduating that have shown interest in teaching, and so we're going to work with them. Michelle's going to work with them. Dalton will not be having summer school this year, and the high school, we're still waiting to see about, graduation and who needs it.
How many do you hope to serve?
At Belle Heath, we hope, anywhere, McCarg to Belle Heath, we're hoping to serve 40, 40 at each school at least. Belle Heath may serve a few more, but I think that, when you read the parameters of the grants and their recommendations on what you should do to access the funds, there are certain stipulations, and so keeping that low teacher-student ratio is very important.
We have 45 signed up right now.
Great.
We have a second push that we're going to do prior to spring break. We're hoping to get 90, but it may vary week to week, but we're excited. We already have 45 signed up, so we're very excited.
It's great.
Have you had folks sign up for kinder camps?
They haven't done it yet.
Oh.
Kinder camp.
Yes.
Yeah, so this would be separate from kindergarten.
Yeah.
But yes, we do have applications coming.
Okay, good.
So you're talking.
Kinder camp
Summer school and kinder camp's different.
Yes.
And separate at another time.
Yes.
So you had that last year.
We
Do
didn't
have
have kinder camp last year.
Kinder camps is new.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And when is the kinder camp?
July.
July?
July.
Right, it's
Right
the
before
3
school.
weeks
July
pretty much
18th.
Before school starts.
Yeah.
For rising kindergarten students. There'll be 30 students that can attend kinder camp, and our target audience is students that did not attend preschool.
And it was the July 18th through what?
August 4th, I think so. It's Monday through Thursday, and it's 9 to 12.
Yeah.
I would think.
Is the target for summer school, students who need help, or is it targeting also enrichment type activities for students? Or is it a mix?
It's open to every student, anyone that's interested in wanting to come. They're invited.
So it could be.
Park is a little different, where you're really using data to inform these decisions of students that need help.
Okay.
And I think it's just making sure that kids have access, because what you'll find is when you start to limit, you're going to really limit your numbers. So we do try to open it as much as possible for people who are willing to come.
And cafeteria, all that's available.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah, they'll have breakfast and lunch and then a snack probably.
And lots of field
Yep.
trips.
Yep.
We're
Yeah,
trying
just
to.
8 to 4 is what I'm thinking.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
So the grant that we got is one of the ESSER 3 set-aside grants. The parameters are 128 hours for summer school. You can't access the funds. So, and then there are other things within that grant. Well, if you don't access, it's summer learning. If you don't access it for summer learning, you can't access it for the other things in the grant. So we want to be able to use every penny we get. And so staying within the parameters is what we have to do. McCarg and Belle Heath were very willing to say, we'll do the camp. Actually, I think running it in June helps because you have the whole month of July off, so families might be more apt to come in the whole month of June. Helps with sitting babysitters a little bit because you're running it all day long. And I think the whole goal is to make it fun as well. We're going to obviously do reading and math a lot, but have some fun activities, and like Kelly just said, field trips and things like that to make it more campy.
And the reason it's 8 to 4 is because we're choosing to do it 4 days a week instead of 5.
Yes.
Which makes sense. But
Yeah.
We have to say that.
Yeah, we do. And we even looked at, we could do it for 8 weeks for 4 hours. So we're like, well, so giving them July and that first week in August, I think is great. So.
Any other questions on summer school?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Denny. Just wanted to make sure you all are okay with us celebrating our seniors with yard signs, street banners, Starlight Senior Video, graduation gold coins, and those types of things.
Like last year?
Last year.
It's great.
How are we doing on senior yearbooks?
Cam, do you know, Mike?
I don't know. I do know we had some donations towards that, but I don't know to what extent.
I think we are getting some donations in, so.
I got a couple, so.
Oh, good. Okay, great. And then would like to invite you all to graduation on the 27th. Love to have you there.
May.
Yes, May 27th.
That's crazy.
Wow.
It'll be hopefully on the
Football field.
football field, hopefully. And I think it's 7, yes. And then you have your attendance report there, and we've Paige and I changed it a little bit to try to give you some more details. You can see there, the first column now is residential in-person students. Second column is residential virtual students. So those are our students that are here in Radford. And then the next column would be the virtual out-of-district stride students.
Do we
So
have
that
that?
shows you.
Did we get that?
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
It was on the thing, it was not in our.
It was on my, yeah, but my brain is not quite.
Fourth one.
Okay, that's, yeah, I remember that.
Like a real mouse.
So you can see there the residential that we have at each of the
There you
schools
go.
and the total in the residential virtual. So we have 28 that are just Radford students in stride, and then the virtual out of district stride that we have is 1,081 right now. And then we move into our free and reduced from residential 791, which the percentage now is right at 50%. 40 for, and these are still the same numbers because we haven't moved from our CEP program yet. You can say the residential disadvantage, the virtual out of district disadvantage, and then our percent of attendance, which you see all the time, and we're at 94.6, which is great. We're above that 94% threshold. With the exception of Dalton, and I know that they are working very hard because usually Mr. Freeman and Ms. Tapp are out here weekly doing truancy meetings and things of that nature, so we're working on that one as well.
Isn't there discussion in the state about not continuing the free breakfast and lunch for students? But that hasn't been decided, right?
Well, I don't think it has been decided, but last I talked with Connie, it was that we, as of June 30th, we move away from that, which is concerning for us too, because when we do our summer schools in June, we can invite, they don't have to come to summer school, but we can invite children and parents to come and eat breakfast and lunch with us.
Right.
They don't have to do the summer school, but then after that, if what's is still in law, if the General Assembly doesn't change it, then we're not sure what to do about that.
Hasn't the USDA in the past had some sort of a grant that Connie uses to pay
Access
for?
is summer program.
Right,
So that's
right.
but you can't do both of them.
Oh,
Or you'd be supplanting.
right.
So we're still waiting to see what we can do. If that does fall, we're going to try to provide some type of service for July and August up until school starts again.
Okay.
Hopefully we can have them come into the summer schools if they need to.
Okay.
Okay.
And I don't have another.
Okay.
Okay.
Board members, any reports? Something wonderful you saw?
I got one.
You got one, wait a minute, just two of you.
I think I saw your picture on a birthday cake the other day. Was that right?
Saw
I
what?
don't know.
Did you have a recent birthday?
I did.
I got you a birthday present. I was doing some Googling the other day and found you the perfect.
Do I have to open this in front of everyone?
That's good.
Oh.
You need to ask when it's Lynn.
Open it down here.
Yeah, you might want to put it in your.
This is so cool. I wanted to keep it myself. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You're almost there. Yeah, but I gave it after
Happy birthday.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lynn.
All right, you're good.
Appreciate it.
There's more where that came from.
You can put down at the garden.
Yeah, it could be.
I have a report, I can't top that. I have a report about Caitlin, virtual school. We did do a survey the other day, and I guess I can disclose what that survey was. There were 4 or 5 questions. She had to call me to do it, so she does follow up with everyone. Just so, got a call at work thinking it was an emergency, and you better fill this survey. But we are it is being proposed to give her a raise, our one employee. So I did on her behalf vote for that. The one thing that I did not vote for or agree with on their behalf was some of our providers went up in price. So my question was, when we signed the contract, yeah, but they're going up anyway. So I did not agree with that. So I just think that And Rob, maybe you have more details. This
So
is just a
let
very
me try to
general-
explain that a little bit. So we don't work with Edgenuity. Radford City does not work with Edgenuity. The prices for Stride are staying the same. I don't know if she would know this, but I'm not sure if Virtual Virginia prices are going up. I'm sure they probably do. But the reason that Edgenuity prices are going up is because originally we had a kind of a gentleman's handshake with them that they would provide us with, you and I talked about this, $50,000 to help supplement her salary. That kind of went to the side, but they've made an agreement this year to up the prices so that they will give us a certain amount of money in the fall by October 1st to help
Right.
fund her.
But the way, I had to call her back, the way she described it was the gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
So we were getting the money without an increase in costs before.
We
But
didn't
now-
get it from Edgenuity this time. We got it from Stride.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was the agreement, is my point. And they're now
Both
saying,
both Stride and Edgenuity, we had a gentleman's agreement with. Now we're having it in writing. Now it'll be in writing. But have we gotten the 35,000 from Stride yet? Okay, so we've invoiced Stride already, but Edgenuity has said they're not honoring that because their prices are so low.
and I don't know if there's anything we can do about it or not, but and the reason I bring it up is I wanted you guys to know that I don't know how anyone else voted, but I said no to that.
Okay.
To the increase in price.
Yes.
I said yes to her raise. I think
Oh, yeah.
We're all getting them within our division, so that's
Mhm.
only fair. And she's a rock star.
Yeah, she is.
She does a great job.
Yep.
It's good to hear. And
And
you had something.
Governor's School, we finally were able to get together and meet, and we approved today the next 2-year cost for
good.
sending students. And it's the same amount as before of $3,850 per seat annually for seats. And to have the, agreed upon number of students that we're gonna be sending there for the next 2 years as they've done before.
Okay.
So, want to let you know that. And the roof issue came up again. It's difficult because it's a Pulaski County school building. And so, is there money within carryover funds to cover that? Can the carryover funds even be used for capital projects? And would they, come to schools out of Pulaski district to pay for a building in another county? Or would they look to other options? So that was a discussion that we started having today.
Do they know what the price of putting a new roof on would be?
They did not share that estimated cost. I don't know if an official estimate has been created or not.
Okay.
And this is it the same roof issues we've had for a number of years up there?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it the original roof?
I don't know.
'Cause that's an old
There was
school.
discussion of patching it however many years ago, and then I guess COVID hit. And so now it's discussion of a bigger roof. There's a lot of leaking, there's mildew, mold on some walls. It's a very old building. It's the old Northwood Elementary School building.
Very old.
So,
I certainly don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't know what you may remember while we're talking about the roofing. What was because I don't remember, the original agreement with the schools to you for facility?
was that Pulaski County was going to take care of that because the building was in their county, and so that they wouldn't have to pay transportation costs over all these years.
Right.
So they agreed to house the school in their county, and now there's some differing thoughts on how to manage costs.
Well, we give them, the money that you just said right
Per
there.
student, we
Yeah.
give $38.50 per student. So, plus we pay for our own transportation.
Right.
And that's actually gone up. That
It has.
$38.50 is fairly recent.
They said it's the same as 2 years ago, so I don't know what it was prior to that.
That's not something you'd remember.
It was 3,600 for a long time.
Okay.
But again, that doesn't include the transportation that we have.
And we pay for transportation for the students to and from. And there were also tons of accolades for all of the science fairs, and then the next science fair, and then the kangaroo this and the this, that. So our students are doing very well in all of their science fair competitions and other math and science efforts there.
I'd love to hear from a governor's school student come down.
We had Michael Hyduke right here just a minute ago. He could have
Yeah.
shared.
Yeah.
We invited we invited 3 of them here, 3 seniors in the fall. We can invite the 3 juniors in the spring if you would like.
Yeah. I'd like to just hear their,
That'd be great.
yeah, what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Very briefly, my colleague that I work with at Radford University, Dr. Melissa Lasanti, she has been doing activities with one of her classes with the Junior Bobcats program, and I get to be a volunteer tomorrow. And I think we're kind of doing a STEM activity, and so anyway, I'll be a volunteer tomorrow afternoon. So.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
I just one other with Mr. Barron coming and talking about the auditory issues there in the auditorium. I do believe as really the only auditorium that the city of Radford owns, right? There's Radford University, but that's not city owned.
Right.
That looking into ways that we can fundraise, from our community, but also from our schools and from our city. That this is something that I know that other school systems, Pulaski County, I've understood that they used either CARES Act or some other kind of funding, which I don't know if that's a route that is plausible or legal. But
I think if you wrote it into the grant that way, it would have been considered as an okay cost.
Would it?
Yes.
Okay. Because that, for me thinking, we didn't use it during the time for COVID-related issues, but it's the one community location that we have in the city. So I don't, if there's a way that we can find some funding that way, because our community, our citizens are tapped out, our city is tapped out, our schools are tapped out. There's foundation, so.
That could be, I can speak without talking to an entire board of directors, that would be something.
A possibility.
It's definitely a possibility. Obviously, Mr. Barron is extremely enthusiastic, and the parents of those kids, I think that's something we could certainly look at.
Sounds good. Thank you.
He's been a very supportive parent for a long, long
He's
time.
got four boys and a girl. Yeah.
Any other business board members you want to talk about? All right, we have a number of action items.
Can you pull that up too,
Amended
Ms. Long?
budget.
Maybe just the cover sheet. Do you all have this in your packet? No.
No, we just have the
Pull it
agenda.
up. So this is the amended budget for this school year, the 2021-2022 that we have. And I'm just go through it. It is online.
Yeah.
It was
So textbook funds have increased, and I told the city council this last night. We get an increase in textbook funds for the enrollment that we have from BABA too. So that's why some of our funds have increased. But you can see the expenditures there, and then the revenue and state funds that we have match. By the way, if you all don't know this, Carrie's worked very, very hard on this, as she always does. So and she always has to explain it to me too.
And this is online for the public to see.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
It's part of the
Agenda for today.
Our operating fund, which is Fund 1, which is what we pull most of our money from. The expenditures there, of course, we have that high enrollment of K-12, and that's about 6.3 million that we get from the state, but then they come around and they charge us for their services. And remember, right now we get 5.5% administrative fee on that, but we have some agreements, and we also are in some negotiations to get a higher rate for that administrative fee, being the first school division to be part of that program. So that I'm working with them right now on that. We have the security upgrades funded, thanks to Mr. Howard for that. That's including the grant and what we owe as a match. the potential McCarg renovation and additional funding, about $158,638 from the rise of the cost that we've had over the pandemic, due to lack of workers, due to the amount of delay in the equipment, and change orders that come in daily. We're looking at a transportation software to really help us with our routes and try to make them even better than they are, and get our children to school and home a little faster. Legal fees, we needed to up $30,000 as well. We had our RHS stormwater improvements; those are almost done now. Just a little bit of more work left towards the area, the back parking lot behind the CTE buildings. Carrie and I guesstimated that the vehicle fuel with the increase is going to stay the way it is, so we're adding $30,000 to that. And we had a boiler, unfortunately, with the McCarg project that rusted through, so we're going to have to replace that too. The King Center weight room has been really good for a long time, but it's a mess. And we have a really good quote, which we think that we would like to get the improvements in there for the wonderful athletic teams that we have to use, $175,000. And then we added the RHS science room improvements on there because of the increase of cost that we have with the ESSER funds that we're using right now for all the other Radford High School facility improvements that we're trying. The science rooms were one of the latter as far as a priority, so we're trying to put it on here to make it a priority there too, because we have Bunsen burners that don't work, sinks that don't function. They're just not, they're not set up to provide a good lab opportunity for you all. So we have that on there too. And then we've with our buildings being as old as they are, we had to increase our maintenance purchase services, $128,000. So you can see those are the expenditures there, the revenues that we have coming in that offset those. So that's good for Fund 1. Then the grant funds that we have, which Ellen does a great job, and Cindy, super job of keeping track for us. Jobs for Virginia Graduates, JVG program that we have at the high school. You can see the costs there. Project Grow is the grant that we have that Ms. Grant is using to help us build a sidewalk from the entrance of the back of the high school to the football field with the lights and everything. But McCarg and Bellheath Summer School, you heard Ms. Denny and Ms. Green and Ms. Lincoln Harker talk about that. The ESSER salaries and benefits that we have with the new positions that we have with those funds, and then of course the HVAC improvements at the cafeteria at RHS. And we did replace some carpet. We replaced carpet in I think 6 or 7 rooms at the high school to help with molding issues. So you can see the expenditures there and the revenues that cover that. And then the McCarg renovation and addition funds 6 is we have $300,000 in there that we are hoping that the city will cover, but we don't know. And we do have, well, I'll just leave it at that. And then you can see the total proposed amended budget with all those different funds is the new budget now $41,705,232.
You heard anything other than arguments coming out of Richmond?
They haven't, there's still not a budget. So when we presented to the city council last night, we did say we built our budget on the governor's budget, which is the middle of the three, sorry. It's in between I believe the House is not going to be as helpful to us as the Senate would be very helpful for us, but the governor's doesn't hurt us either. It's pretty strong, actually. Any questions on?
I have a couple. Carrie, could you scroll back up to the first page? When are and I don't know this, the plan we put in place for the school improvements last year at some point when we said we're going to do this over the next 5 years, does this all align
It does.
with that? Okay.
We tried to we really felt like that the science rooms weren't going to be able to be done with the money that we have for ESSERs, which we put in that priority that I've shown you guys several times.
Yeah.
Because the cost of the cafeteria air conditioning is just shot through the roof, like everything else. And we had the storm water drainage that we weren't expecting
That
either.
issue,
And that was a lot more than we were expecting to.
Do you know an approximate cost for the auditorium? That we talk about that a lot, and I agree. You go in there and you sit in the seats, and do you know an approximate cost for that? I know
To redo the seats.
Yeah, and I know the sound and everything. Something totally
we did
different.
that at one point, didn't we? We priced that. I can't remember what it was though. We priced it about 4 or 5 years ago, to come in and not bring in new seats, but to redo the seats. And I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
It's
It was
bad.
expensive.
It's bad.
It's more than just the covers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to replace all the seats, but
Yeah.
that quote was just for the covers and the cushions. Now we put in new carpet in there 5 or 6 years, 7. Oh, that was when Dr. Greer was here. That was.
Put a new curtain too.
And a new curtain. That was 7 or 8 years ago. Now that was really expensive to put the carpet in, and the curtain was unbelievable.
Yeah, the reason I ask is it comes up probably once a month somewhere where I hear about it, and I'm wondering if we could put it in our plan so it's at least on the radar over the next couple of years. I mean, I don't think we should shove it in here and rob Peter to pay Paul. I don't think that at all, but if we could at least get it laced in our plan somehow with numbers, with hard numbers of what it would cost, because it comes up a lot in our community. I know, Jenny, you're in there probably more than any
I was
of
to
us.
say, every time we have to go sit in there.
Every time I go sit in there, I'm like, man, what are we thinking? But
So I would only say this to you. I mean, we can do that if you all want to do that, but our priority list for our facilities are based on safety first.
For
So
sure.
if that is not,
Fair
I mean,
enough.
if you feel like I feel like that's a pretty safe environment. I'm there quite a bit, and there's nothing that really worries me about children getting hurt.
Yeah.
As to like our weight room, there's some safety issues in there that could hurt children.
So that's fair, I think. But can we at least
But
get
we
a
can
number?
put it on there,
Can we
yeah.
at least get a
Sure.
number so we know
Well,
if
we can look and see what it was to reupholster those. Totally, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I know I go in the auditorium and it is the one place that, and this is totally my opinion, and I'm not in there all the time, but it is the one place that the community, the gym being
Yeah.
very similar.
Sure. Right.
But we do have the gym on the plan.
And that's
For
because-
safety.
For safety reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to know, and maybe the rest of the board don't, I don't know, but the cost, what would it cost for this auditorium, whether it's redoing the seats versus new seats?
We can definitely do that.
Yeah,
That
all
doesn't-
of
I mean,
the
that
all of
doesn't
the
cost
other
us
stuff,
anything.
so we can at least.
We have the safety priorities, and of course you
Sure.
agree with that, but
Right.
as a future plan, yeah, because it's true, it's.
You know, we've accomplished, it was amazing what we've been able to accomplish off our list out of our own funds.
Right.
But I know, I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that even David Horton was saying, gosh, this is something that the city is using and this is not in great shape. So.
They say, show us the money.
Yeah.
Give us the money.
Yeah, and I wonder, you know, our theater program and our arts in general are doing equally as well as the sports programs.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder if there are any grants out there for that type of thing. I don't
Could
know.
be.
Ellen, maybe you would know whether they're, that may be a yes or no, maybe a no, I don't know, but. I
Could
mean,
be
we
a-
explore a lot of grants for different things. I'm just curious.
Could be opportunity for a naming possibility too.
Naming, there you go.
Something. All right, I'm finished. Thank you.
So.
Any other questions?
Would you just, this is the amended budget, and I guess the question is, have you figured out, is it balanced?
Yes.
Okay, that's all we care about.
So we vote on this
To send it to the city.
to send it to the city based on only what we know right now.
You approve it and then we send it to the city.
This will be the budget for the.
Or you choose to approve it if you
Unless
don't.
something significant were to happen, or numbers would change significant, this would be the budget for the rest of the school.
Yeah. And help us to figure out what type of carry forward monies that we
Right,
would
right. Oh, I
possible
understand
too.
that, I'm just so aggravated as everybody's sitting out there and listening too, that we can't get, here we are, April, and we still don't have a budget.
Well, this is this year's, right?
It is.
Yeah, this was this
and
year's.
it is affected by the General Assembly
Sure it
because
is.
they are
Sure it is.
making some decisions that do affect this year.
Yes,
Yep.
always do.
Okay.
Okay, just
Okay.
making sure I was clear. All right, you want a motion for every item?
Yes, ma'am.
I
Okay.
think they can just approve the amended budget as
The
presented.
action
Yes,
items.
but I think she's talking about action items.
I'm sorry.
I
That's okay.
was, I'm sorry.
Would you like a motion?
Yes, I need a motion to approve the amended budget for 21-22 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second, any more discussion?
I'll
Second.
second it.
I didn't have a second. It's
Listen, you do
when it
now.
gets down
You
to
got
the
one now.
close to mine, I start doing that. All right, do now, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Denny's really worked hard on this calendar. Appreciate all the hard work on that. Would like to ask for your approval for this too, knowing that we still, with our software for the buses and things of that nature, that there may be some changes according to the start and end times for that. So we want, not the start and end days, just the
Oh,
school
okay.
time,
The
like the
times.
beginning, yeah, down here in the bottom.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Gotcha. Seems more succinct than it has been.
It's a little bit more normal,
Yeah.
normal
Well, we
times
think
right now
that
too.
if there's anything normal in the world.
Yeah.
Are we, is it time for questions?
Sure.
Are we keeping Wednesdays half-days?
No.
That's new information.
So it was last
Well,
meeting.
they're not marked on the calendar. So
They've been,
on
so,
the calendar, they're not marked as half days. So they're not,
Full day.
they're not having half days.
On the last
Okay.
calendar that we
This is
got.
just the calendar, not the schedule.
So
Would that be considered the schedule?
kind of both, I guess. There are two early releases that were traditional, one before the winter break and one the day of the last day of school, and we've retained those.
okay. I missed the memo that we were not doing the half-days on Wednesday anymore.
Yeah,
I
there's
missed
only-
that.
On the calendar, you'll see only two, they're marked in gray.
Mm-hmm,
They're the only two half-days we have next year.
okay.
In her defense, not really in your defense, I think where the confusion lies, they were not on the last one of these in the proposed that we had. So it was an assumption when you studied that calendar, you could see that they had not marked the half days
Hadn't at that
for
point.
Wednesday.
They
I don't
were
know
just
about a specific memo. I don't recall.
I thought us remember talking about it at the last school board meeting.
We
but
talked
I-
about it at the
Yeah.
last board
Yeah.
meeting, but we hadn't made a decision whether or not to have them or not to have them until
Okay.
we did our surveys and.
Okay,
And we had lots of discussion around it, but we had to look at the minutes that are mandated by the Department of Education to
Mhm.
ensure our children were in those minutes and accounting also for inclement weather,
mm-hmm,
so that we wouldn't have to tack on additional days.
okay.
Teacher in service. Now with the ending of the half days, and I know parents will celebrate that, I get that as a parent. Any thinking, and I know you're thinking ahead, how we get in enough training, new teachers?
So we've marked, I think there are, I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think there are 11 teacher workdays on the calendar.
Right.
We've reserved one 7.5-hour day to be distributed throughout the calendar for professional development, designated by the division along with schools. We've given one virtual day on the 5th of August, like we did last year, for everyone to get their training done.
Okay.
And then that leaves 8 unassigned. We've got,
Okay.
we put a professional day after each quarter, the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, it's on the 5th, and it's a work day.
And you're obviously comfortable with them, enough time and principles to.
I think, I'll be honest with you, I think that the whole community's wanting to get back to something that looked a little
Little
bit
bit like normal.
routine,
Hmm.
kind of
I get it.
outweighed that, but, we felt like everyone needs, consistency.
Normalcy, consistency. Okay.
Do we lose teacher, student remediation, I guess I'm kind of, I don't remember either. I remember it's being mentioned, I just wasn't aware that it was going away.
Right. We still do have the Bobcat Connection program in the afternoon, and grants paying for that. So, teachers get paid $40 an hour to tutor kids as well as help kids who, for some reason, need to stay after school. For school time, based on maybe behavior or discipline. So we still retain that, we have that grant, and we'll still have enough money next year to provide that service after school.
So cleaning of the schools, I remember was one of the big reasons we did it.
So that's not being recommended anymore by deep cleaning is not being recommended anymore. Now, you have heard that the BA2 variant now is starting to push through too, so you never know, that may change. But we feel like that this would, even if some type of COVID variant came back, that this still would be a strong calendar for us.
One more Wednesday question. I know that Wednesdays were being used for, meetings and trainings and all that sort of thing. Are those just being, I guess, going back to normal? But we're not corralling the younger students outside of their classrooms before school.
One thing we are trying to do, if you'll note it, when you make the calendar, one of the biggest things you have to study is the start time of the day and the end time of the day. And for Radford City, and we tried to explain that in the narrative that was online with the calendar. For Radford City, it's a challenge because we own 8 buses. And so we run 8 routes, and as much as we'd like to be able to run an elementary route in a high school, it's very difficult for us to. That's one of the reasons we're looking at a transportation program to come in to tell us if we're running efficient bus routes. Also to give parents, because it's going to have a parent element to it, where a parent will know their child got on the bus and they've arrived, they're at school, which we think is pretty good. It will give information that the bus is late due to an accident or inclement weather. But when you look at this, what we're trying to do is make sure that the elementary school isn't sitting for 50 minutes waiting for buses to come. So we've staggered it enough that the elementary schools, and we'll have to really work with McCargan and Galvin because they're close staggered, they're 10 minutes. And we've watched busing for a number of years. It takes McCargan, Belheath a little bit longer to get on the bus. They tend to be distracted by things in the hallway, just getting them down to the bus, so it takes a little bit longer getting them on the bus. High school, the bell rings, the doors open, they're boarded in 5 minutes. So we're trying to get the elementaries out in a quick enough time that then they would have time for the afternoon meetings.
Okay.
A teacher's contract is 7.5 hours.
Right, and
We'll also probably, we have meetings coming up. Admin's gonna have to talk about what do we do about larger areas holding students as they come in early.
Right.
We do have that issue right now because kids come in at 7:25 in the elementary. I think that all of the administrators have worked to really provide spaces for them. And I think we'll just work to do that. I think it's gonna gradually come back to a little bit of that, but never
what it was before. I just want to be really, I know that you all are. I just want to be so conscious and conscientious about our teachers' time before school and after school and.
We did crunch the minutes. To see, if we were to continue to do that, and I have to say too, we did have a number of emails from parents saying, please look into this, it's a hardship on my family.
Yeah.
So we did look at the numbers, the minutes, especially at the elementary level, just because of the supervision that has to occur with the little ones, it's a little bit different. And both, all the admin felt like, the kids need to be in school. If you started, what happened is if you don't go without it being too complicated, if you build that 2 hours, you're taking 2 hours a week away from instruction.
Right.
Times 36 weeks can end up being, anybody mathematician can do it really quickly, you take it, and it's 72 divided by 7.5, you're looking at a good amount of days you've just lost to instruction.
Yeah.
And when we study that as instructional leaders, that's a scary thing because now you have no wiggle room. So you're going 990 hours, that's the minimum, 180 days. If you have snow, you're gonna have to bring your children back in on weekends.
Right.
or
Or
longer
at
into
the
the
end of,
summer.
end of school, which is
So
not productive.
we did think about that. The high school's getting their hours in, and that happens because those number of minutes in each period, we decided as an instructional leadership team, we're not going under 50 minutes per class. It's too short.
Right.
So the high school's getting their minutes in. It's the elementary that's not getting their minutes in. And if we go to a 2-hour early release, it's not. And we even thought about building some in, and Michelle called and said, Ellen, we're not getting it's still gonna be a hardship.
Right.
So in order to make sure students are getting what they need, they're meeting the mandates, we feel like we needed to go back to this kind of calendar.
Thanks, Denny. Our teachers are ready.
Are they?
Wednesdays are hard. I think as admin, we probably have 20 meetings every Wednesday. We have to split among us because all the meetings are spent just on Wednesdays.
Right.
And that's a very hard day. It's a very hard day for teachers.
Sure.
And I think Darden and Cam can probably speak to this. Cole and I have more discipline on Thursdays from events that have happened outside of school on Wednesdays. Thursdays are very hard because we're dealing with events that have happened outside of school, and it's carrying over.
Makes a lot of sense.
Because that 2.5 hours sometimes is unstructured for older kids and those kind of things. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
that's what we don't like Thursdays.
Gotcha.
It's a long day of unraveling a lot of the things that have happened outside of school.
Right.
And Mr. Graham is right. Depending on this company that comes in to evaluate the transportation, these times could change a little bit.
Right.
Because we want to make sure we've got routes that are efficient.
And if you look at our Wednesdays right now, teachers don't get a recess. They don't get
Right.
a plan.
Right.
It's
So
hard
that
to-
adds up.
Right.
I think for the most part, it was a great, we rode that horse as long as we can.
Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate everybody's insight on that.
The other thing on this too, you all, we're moving back to a regular 7-period day at the secondary school too, just
Okay.
to let you know that.
So no longer the block type scheduling on Thursday, Fridays?
Correct.
One lunch.
No one lunch. 3 lunches.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
I really hate,
period.
I really hate to hear this. I am really sad about this, but
Not even a tweak.
What is the reasoning for going back to a 7-period day? Is there overarching reason, or is it?
Yes. It's just our staff needs some normalcy and just need the ability to have a year that they can teach.
And we did survey them. The
Sure,
survey came
I
back
get it,
with a
too.
7-period day. It wasn't huge, I mean, but it definitely, they weren't so.
Doesn't mean that we're not gonna continue to look at it.
Right.
But we need, we've gone from a 7-period day with a 0 option to a innovative hybrid schedule to pandemic to a hybrid to, I mean, they need just to be able to.
I'm just asking, I'm an advocate for changing your schedule based on your need. So I don't think a block is always, I like block schedules.
I do too. I think we do, but we're just not ready to do that right
I
now.
think there are times when you have to adjust, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that we're willing to do that. I
Yeah.
was just curious as to.
Yeah, we just feel like it would be best for not just our staff too, but for our students as well. There's been a lot of behaviors this year.
just
that
consistency.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. We still have all those issues that we encountered with the 7-period day, that it was hard to do innovation, and it was hard for science, and it was, but give it a try.
Okay.
So we need a,
We need a motion to approve the 22-23 calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the 22-23 school calendar.
I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
thank you. And then you all explained the policies a little bit to you in the last March meeting. Anybody have any questions about these updates? Okay, so we need to
Need a
get,
motion for
yes
the
ma'am.
final reading? I need a motion for the final reading of the policy revisions for 2022.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And we need an appointment of Ms. Denny to be designee. Did we do 2 years on that form, Ms. Long?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So this
So
would
it'd
be
be
a
from,
2-year.
yes, ma'am.
I need a motion for the appointment of superintendent designee for a 2-year period.
I make a motion that we designate Ms. Denny as superintendent designee for the 2-year period beginning, this is correct, July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2024.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And then we have this is not going into our policy, so just protocol for the emergency undesignated stock of butyrol and policy for administrating this. I've sent this to you all, and you've sent me your suggestions, and I've made those accordingly. So we need to just get these to our school nurses and to the administration.
And thank you to the board members with all the suggestions.
Yes.
We're good. All right, I need a motion for the approval of the protocol for the emergency undesignated stock of butyrol and for administering and designating the stock of butyrol.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And then the last is the salary scales that you have. It'll include the 5.5% increase for next year. The one salary scale that you don't have in here is the director's scale, which we're still working on. So we'll, and would like to discuss that in closed session with you all as well.
It's been a year-long discussion.
Yes, it has.
Yes. All right, I need.
Do we want to vote now before that, or do we want to vote as a whole?
You can choose to do either one. Yeah.
We wait till after the closed session.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other? No other? That's it?
That's all. Thank you.
All right. And then you need closed session. Dr. Altieri, would you please read our statutes?
I make a motion that we go into closed meeting under Virginia Statute 2.23711. And the first would be for reason number 1, which is authorized under that statute, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, or resignation.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I make a motion that we go into closed session as authorized under reason number 7. Consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to litigation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is that
That's
the last
it.
one? All right. Folks, we are in closed session. need a motion, please, to convene in regular session.
Go ahead. I'll make a motion to convene in regular session.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. We're in regular session. Dr. Terry, will you certify our reasons for a closed meeting, please?
I make a motion to certify that we were in closed meeting under Virginia Statute 2.23711 for reason number 1, discussion and consideration of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, and resignation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I make a motion to certify that we were in closed session for reason number 7, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. I also need a motion to approve Personnel Report 1.0.
I'll make a motion to approve Personnel Report 1.0.
I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, I need a motion to approve salary scale as presented by the superintendent.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion passes. Any other? The date for our next regular school board meeting is May the 10th, 22, 6 p.m. right here at the School Administration Building. This meeting is adjourned.